my crafty friends, it's me, Lisa, the DIY Diva, and I have a bunch of new fall DIYs that are more of a farmhouse feel. So if you're looking for farmhouse fall DIY decor, this video is for you.
It all just goes away. The things I plan to say, oh baby.
Now I wanted to start with something simple. So this is a Dollar Tree charger, and all I'm going to do is take some acrylic paint and paint the charger. I'm pretty sure this would work with any of the Dollar Tree chargers. I just happen to have a silver one to start with. So after the first coat of paint dried, then I came back and did a second coat of the black acrylic paint. This will make sure I have a solid black surface on the charger. Now, once that was dry, I came back with some folk art crackle coat. I love this stuff. It's so much fun to work with for giving a crackling appearance to anything. So after I mixed up the crackle coat, then using a chip brush, I came back and applied a thick coat of the crackle coat to the charger. I really made sure to get the raised edges as well as the entire surface of the charger. And then I allowed it plenty of time to dry before moving on to the next step, which is to apply the top coat. Now I'm using a folk art cream colored, and the one thing that I've learned with doing the crackle coat like this is if you have a darker color as the base coat and a lighter color as the top coat, this really helps for the crackling appearance to show up. And I think you can see that the crackling is already happening even before I'm finished painting the charger. And once my charger was complete, this is how it looks. I think this is so pretty, and I'm not using it for my table. I'm going to be using it for my decorating. And I found this display easel at Dollar Tree, and it makes it a really unique way to display something like this. And I also made a couple of other things, which I'm going to be showing you later in this video. But for the next project, what I have are these Dollar Tree votive holders, and I've already painted them white. They were for a different project, but I'm just going to apply some jute twine all the way around the bottom portion of the votive holder. And I'm going to put that jute all the way around to the very top edge of this holder. Next, I came back with some cream colored paint and I painted where the white was still showing through. Now, hindsight, I think it would have been easier if I painted that cream color first and I wouldn't have to go all the way down to the jute twine. But in the end, it did work out okay. But I think if I did this again, I would do the painting first. Now, something else that I'm going to be using for this display that I'm making are these foam pumpkins. So I have lots of smaller pumpkins, but I want them all to really have a real appearance. So I'm just mixing different acrylic paints to really make these look more real and less fake. So I had a pumpkin color that I put on first, and then I came back with some cream paint while the pumpkin paint was still wet, and I'm just blending those colors together. I did this with several layers of the acrylic paint. And for the larger pumpkins, they look pretty good already. So I just came in with some folk art antiquing wax and just darkened up the creases a little bit. And for the other pumpkins, I just used different shades of orange, cream, and even a little bit of antiquing wax and blended them together to make them have a more realistic appearance and not look so faux. And once all of my pumpkins had dried, then I did come back with some burnt umber paint and put that onto some stems. I came back with some burnt umber paint and a couple of paintbrushes. This is a fan paintbrush, and I just kind of splattered paint on the pumpkins so that they're going to have different colors, different splatter colors that I hope will help to enhance their appearance. And for my pumpkins, I wanted to have a display to put them on. So I found this Faith picture at Hobby Lobby on clearance, and this will be the perfect size for my pumpkins and the little vases that I made. So I removed all of the material that I didn't need, like all of the tags and everything. Then I came in with some black chalk paint and I painted the entire piece with the black chalk paint. The chalk paint is nice because you only need one coat of it and it really covers very well. And it also gives a matte appearance, which I really like. And while my chalk paint was still wet, I came back with some silver paint because I want to make this look more rustic, more kind of galvanized, I guess. So I just blended the silver paint in with the black chalk paint that was still wet on the project. I made sure to come back and hit all of the top edges of the piece. I don't know, I guess it's like a riser that is going to be used for displaying the pumpkins. But like I said, I wanted it to look galvanized, so I came back with that silver paint around all of the edges, and I made sure to keep my paintbrush going in the same direction. And this is what it turned out like. But I want to have something to put into those little vases, and I thought these cinnamon sticks would be fantastic. So I started putting them in and they just kept falling all over. So I decided to stop being lazy and secure them in place. So I used my hot glue gun and I just individually glued all of the cinnamon sticks into the center of the vase. I just completely filled up the opening so it looks like I have a whole bunch of cinnamon sticks, which I do. And these are all of the finished pieces to this project. The cinnamon stick vases and my pumpkins. I think the pumpkins look a lot better than they did when I started. I think this definitely gives a farmhouse fall vibe to my decor this year. Now I'm going to be using these Dollar Tree tiles and some tin cans that I've salvaged from the recycling. So the first thing I did was take one of these tiles and I removed the backing because the backing, even though it is sticky, once you cut it down to the size you want it to be, the backing will come off. So I removed the backing first and then I sized the tile for each of the cans. And I was able to cover 3 cans with one of these Dollar Tree tiles. Then I came back with some adhesive, and this is B7000, and I used that to secure the tile to each of the tin cans. I would not recommend using hot glue with the Dollar Tree tiles because it will melt the pattern of the tile. And I used some Dollar Tree clamps to secure the tile in place and then set it off to dry. I did also use a little bit of tape around the tile as well to really make sure it was adhered to the tin can. And I removed all of the tape from my tin cans, and this is what they look like with no extra painting or anything. But I can't leave it like that. So I came back with some burnt umber paint and I painted the tile and the entire can with the burnt umber paint. Now, if you wanted to do something like this and just leave it that one color, you could do that. I think it would look really nice, but I wanted to go a little bit extra, so I took some Rub and Buff, which is one of my new favorite things to work with now, and this is an antique gold, and using a chip brush, I just painted on some of the Rub and Buff onto what are now little vases. The gold really shows up well against the burnt umber background, and I think they look so pretty, and this was such an affordable little project, and definitely, again, a farmhouse type decor piece for fall. Now I have this Dollar Tree wreath. I've always wanted to have a very ornate wreath for my front door. So I have all of the supplies that I'm going to need. I started off with some Robert Stanley burlap ribbon. This is from Hobby Lobby, and right now it is 40% off. This is a huge spool of this ribbon. And I just used my glue gun to secure the burlap to the Dollar Tree frame. This is just a Dollar Tree wreath frame. I believe this one is the 18-inch frame. This is the larger one. And then I just wrap the burlap all the way around the wreath form. Wreath form, wreath frame. I think both of those terms could be used, and it's the same thing. Just the form of the wreath, which is basically just the round section of the wreath. Once I had gone all the way around the wreath form, I secured the burlap to the back of the wreath form. Next, I came back with these leaves, and these are faux leaves. They're kind of soft, kind of velvety from Hobby Lobby. And before securing them to the wreath form, I did lay them out just to see what they would look like. I like to do this when I'm doing projects like this because I want to see it before I secure it in place. And I had some smaller leaves, so I secured those on top of the larger ones. Next, I had these really pretty and shiny navy blue snowflakes. So again, I just laid them out on the wreath form and secured them in place. Then I came back with some more leaves, which I believe these did come from Dollar Tree as well, and I hot glued those onto the wreath form. I'm literally doing this like a cake. It's just layers of each of the supplies that I'm using for the wreath. But I wanted my wreath to be a little bit more 3D and not so flat. So I took this ribbon, again, this is from Hobby Lobby, and I literally made like twirls of the ribbon, and using my hot glue gun, I just secured the ends of the ribbon to itself and then literally just twirled the ribbon so I have, it kind of looks like Chinese handcuffs. But these are definitely going to give a more 3D appearance to my wreath. Next, I put a little bit of hot glue where I wanted each of these to go, and I decided it was going to give a better look by folding that cylinder a bit, and I just secured them all the way around the wreath. And then I had this navy blue ribbon. It was really pretty. So I just cut strips of the ribbon, and using hot glue, I just made loops of the ribbon. And then I just tucked them into the wreath. If I had to measure, I would say that each of the strips of the ribbon are about 4 inches long. And then I came back with some more fall foliage, and I just secured pieces of that randomly around the wreath. This is a really good way to make a wreath if you have lots of extra stuff in your craft room and you're not sure what you want to do with it. I guess it's kind of a hodgepodge wreath, but I really think it's a fun way to use up all of those extra craft supplies, like these pine cones, which I've had forever, but I thought it would look really nice on a fall wreath and pretty appropriate because the pine cones are definitely falling from our trees. And then I came back with some more fall foliage. And I believe I got this at Hobby Lobby this year, but I really liked those orange and blue. I don't know what they are. They're just kind of like seed bundles or something, but I thought they looked really pretty and they would make a nice accent for the wreath. Next, I came back with some extra little stems and pieces that I've been saving for a project like this because I don't like to throw these things away. I like to save them, and I think this is a really good example of that. And then I found this really pretty orange ribbon at Hobby Lobby, so I just cut off probably 6 to 7 inch pieces of it, twisted the ends together because it is wire, and literally made loops, and then I just tucked those into my wreath. I also had these Dollar Tree flowers from the 4th of July. I thought they were really pretty, and the blue goes really well with this wreath. So using my hot glue gun, I secured the blue flowers randomly to the wreath. And I had these roses, which were orange and perfect for it. So I did put a couple of those on as well. Oh, I also had these little acorns, which are very autumn, don't you think? So I put those onto the wreath too. This wreath is definitely a hodgepodge of fall accents, but I wasn't quite finished. I also had this blue velvet ribbon, which is wire edge, so I made loops of that. Then I came back with some more of the navy blue ribbon that I already have used, and I just secured the navy blue ribbon to the blue velvet ribbon and made little twisted loops. And I made a whole bunch of them to put onto the wreath. Now, is this the way that you typically see wreaths being made? Probably not, but that's how we learn, right? We just continue to practice and get better and better at what we do with our crafting. And if you're having fun, that is all that matters. Next, I came back with some more of that burlap ribbon and I made some loops to make a bow to go onto the center of the bottom of my wreath. And I just used a Dollar Tree pipe cleaner to secure the ribbon so that I could make a bow. And then I took a smaller piece of the burlap ribbon and covered the center. And I did want my bow to stand out a little bit, so I came back with some more of that Robert Stanley ribbon and I made a larger bow and I secured that to the center of the bottom portion of my wreath. Then I made some tails with the burlap ribbon, and then I put the burlap bow on top of that. I did add a little bit of extra of the background ribbon to the tails as well. I know this is not the easiest way to make a bow, but I really like how it turned out. And for the finishing touch, I came back with these little white silk flower pieces and just randomly scattered them within my wreath. And there it is. The one last thing that I had to do was add a hanger to the back of the wreath. So I used some jute twine for that. And then all I had to do was hang it on my door. Oh my goodness. I'm really proud of this. I really like this wreath. I like the orange and the navy blue. I think the colors complement each other very well, and definitely a very pretty fall wreath for my front door. Now for this project, I have had this pumpkin since last fall, and I just never got around to doing what I wanted to do with it. So this is the year it's going to be used. And I've got a lot of Dollar Tree wooden pumpkins. I love these. They're so much fun to work with. So I just removed all of the extra embellishments. And then I was trying to figure out which pumpkin I wanted to use for the middle pumpkin. So I'm going to be grouping these pumpkins together and give them different textures. So this is going to be the middle pumpkin, and I'm just using some scrapbook paper that will cover up this pumpkin. So I put a coat of Mod Podge, and then I put my scrapbooking paper on top, and then made sure it was nice and secured and smoothed out. I did go ahead and sand down the edges, but I didn't really like that color, so I came back with a napkin and cut the napkin down to the size it needed to be. And then using some Mod Podge, I secured the napkin to the pumpkin. Now with that lighter orange background, I think it really works with this darker orange napkin. Now for this pumpkin, I'm going to be using this Dollar Tree tile. This tile is a little bit different than the other one. It does have, it's like a sticker. So I cut it to the size of the pumpkin, and then using a smaller pair of scissors, I cut out the pumpkin shape. Now, when I tried to remove the backing, I couldn't. So I did end up having to use some Mod Podge to secure the tile to the pumpkin. And while I did like that color, I wanted to make my grouping of pumpkins all orange, so I used some orange chalk paint from Waverly. And when that was dry, I came back with my rub and buff, and I just did a light coat of the rub and buff on top of the orange chalk paint because I really wanted to see a little bit of the difference in that tile that I had put onto the pumpkin. By this time, my decoupage napkin had dried to my middle pumpkin, so I just sanded away all of the excess napkin. And then I decided on how I wanted my pumpkins to be stacked. Once I was happy with that, then I used my hot glue gun and secured the pumpkins to each other. So this is a trio of different size wooden pumpkins. But of course I need to embellish these, so I came back with some different ribbons and I made bows for all three of the pumpkins. And they're not really like traditional bows. I also added some raffia just to give a little bit of texture. It seems like fall is all about different textures, and I think adding different embellishments like the raffia and the different ribbons really help to elevate the look of a piece like this. Even though these wooden pumpkins are from Dollar Tree, by stacking them together and then adding the extras really makes it look more high-end. I added in a little bit of crafting ribbon, and I wanted to see if I could twist the raffia if it would keep that wavy appearance. And I also added in just some extra embellishments. And added in a little bit of the craft curly Q paper along with some buttons looking like it was holding this all together, and then I also added a jute bow. And here is the end project. I love this. I'm so happy with how this turned out. This is probably one of my favorite projects, and this was a total fluke. I just wanted to see what it would look like if I added some of the pumpkins together to stack them in one piece instead of using 3 separate pumpkins. I could have done each one individually, but I really like the trio of pumpkins all as one project. And I can't believe it, but that is the last project of this video. If you've enjoyed this video, go ahead and click that subscribe button. And if you click the bell notification, you'll get an alert every time I have a new video coming out. And so far this fall, I have been so creative, and I still have more fall videos to share with you. So go ahead, click the subscribe button and come back for my next video.